So guys, let's continue with the next part. Yesterday class was very interesting, very important also, because I have given you the actual approach, right? Approach would be, if we have some resources, if we want to provisioning in respective platform that's called AWS cloud or maybe XYZ cloud, how you can process and how can you start the things and what approach we have to use, right? So yesterday I showed you some document of Terraform, and we created our final code, and after I write the code, everything to be automated and thing would be done, right? So something like this. So today guys, again, I'm going to show you some more examples, something like this, but in a little bit more complex way. Not complex, I mean to say more real use case way. And so it would be again quick revision also of my yesterday class, but with a lot of new concepts of the Terraform. So I don't want to invest further time on talking, and let's directly go and implement something, right? So let me start from very basics again. Before this, let me go to our Terraform folder. This called workspace, and here I'm going to create a folder. Let's say this is a basic one folder, and here I'm going to write for the code of the Terraform. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a code. Let's say this would be my EC2 .tf. Any, we can give any file name. Extension should be tf only. Okay. Okay, and let me start from here. So what I'm going to do, guys, because you know Terraform is a kind of platform where you can write a code, and after you write the code, you can run the code. So you can think Terraform is like a interpreter. Interpreter is not a right term, but in my upcoming class, I will explain you the Terraform is actually like a framework. But just for some time, just think Terraform is like a normal language, like Python or like any other languages. And because Python is like Terraform is like a normal interpreter. So whatever normally you do in your programming world, you normally create a variable, let's say x equal to 5, and normally you print the variable called x. So these are very basic thing in the programming language you do. So same thing you can also do in the Terraform. Obviously syntax would be different, but logic idea would be same. So if you have a requirement, for example, I want to create a variable, let's say with the name called LW as a Linux word, and X is a variable, Linux word is a value, and by chance guys, this value look like a string. Okay, so I can say X is a variable, data inside the X has a data type called a string, and here print is a function, and using the function, I'm going to print the value of the X. So this is a very typical syntax on most of the programming language. Okay, same thing if you want to do in the Terraform. And why I'm explaining this point to you, because today I'm going to explain you there's a concept called data data resource in the Terraform. So what is resource type? I have explained you yesterday. EC2 instance is a one resource type that we use yesterday. Okay, but there's one more powerful thing in the Terraform that's very much useful. I'll show you some very important practical on this particular topic. But so the concept is data resource in the Terraform. What I mean by this, we'll see in today's practical. But for this, before I go for that particular topic, sorry, let me explain you very basic concept how you can create a variable in the Terraform and how you can print the value of the variable in the Terraform. So let's say if you want to create this variable, then we have a keyword called variable variable in the Terraform. And here, if you want to create a variable with the name called X, so you can give the X. So this is syntax, then curly brace start and curly brace close. So technically, guys, in the Terraform, if you want to do anything, right, you have to write in a block. Every block you have to give a name and what this block is meant for. So you have to give the keyword. So this is meant for provider. Yesterday I used a keyword called provider, and this block is meant for resource. So yesterday, guys, we had given the keyword called resource, but today this block is actually meant for the variable. So I use a keyword called variable. And because it is variable, so here guys you will tell the type of the variable this is. So technically you'd write a string. So the string is one pre-keyword here, value here. So it means I'm telling the value of this x would be a string. What is the value? That is also known as what is the default value of this variable. So I can say my default value is, let's say, Linux word. So Linux word would be a default value. So technically, normally this is the way in the programming world we define the variable. But if you want to define the variable in the Terraform, this is the way to define. Okay, so this is one thing. But if you want to print the value of this x, again same syntax we have to follow. We have to use some keyword. Then every keyword we have to give some name. Then curly braces start and curly braces close. So this is the guys syntax of the Terraform. So whatever you do in the Terraform, this is the typical syntax you have to use. But here, what I want to do, what is my purpose? My purpose is to print some output. So then here we have a keyword from the Terraform called output, and every keyword we have to give unique name. You can give anything. Let's say this is my value as an output, and what you want to print. So you want to print the value of the x. Okay. So for this, we have a keyword here called val equals to x. That's all. So this is guys syntax. So instead of print x or echo x, right? This is the syntax in the Terraform if you want to print something. So what happened, guys, when I run my code, first the value of x would be a Linux world. And then when I run, when this block run, this value block will go and check, do you have any variable x? Answer yes. What is the value? Linux world. They will print this value. So the value is a one key, and this key will tell, I know you are x, you are the variable, and I will print your value. Okay. So let me show you guys how it works. Okay. So let me close this code. This file has been created, and you guys know if you want to run any 1 minute. You guys know if you want to run any Terraform code, we have a command called Terraform apply. And that's one thing, guys. Terraform apply will go and see in the current folder all the file where they find the extension TF. Maybe you have 2 file, 10 file, all the file they go and run it. So guys, in my upcoming class, I'll show you how to connect multiple files and how to create a modules or something like this. So in my upcoming class, we'll discuss those topics in detail. But right now we are just learning the concepts of the Terraform. So when I run this, okay, this will give me error. And they say, I don't know what is this X. I don't understand what you're talking about. I have no idea about X. Okay, and they say is invalid reference. So this error come out. So what is the meaning of this error? They say, whatever you are typing, I have no idea. For example, here, what you type is string, because string is my internal keyword as a value. So I know about the string, but what you type here as an X, I have no idea. But if I put the X in the double quotes, and now if I try to run this code again, you guys see there is no SS error command, but you guys know whenever on that apply command, they always ask you yes or no. But if you guys notice here, I have no plan, because in my code I haven't used any resources, and because I have no resources that the way I used yesterday, so there's nothing to have a plan, nothing to implement. But I want to change something as an output. So if I say yes, right, what you see, guys, the output come up. But right now, what output come up? There's no error as such. Okay, output come up with this key and with this value, but this is not what I wanted. Okay, what they do, guys, they print X as it is. Okay, so there's no error come. So technically what I'm talking about, if in the Terraform, if you want to print some string, you can put this string in double quote in the front of value, and output is like a print function, and they will print for you. If you have a requirement to print some particular string. But here, this is not my requirement. My requirement is I want to go to X, and this X is my variable, and I want to print this value. So for these guys to tell the Terraform that this X is not a string, it is a variable for me. So there's one internal keyword called var dot. So here I'm defining this X is not a normal string. It is a variable. Okay, and in somewhere in the top, I have already mentioned this variable. Just go there and find out the value, and whatever value you have, you will get it. Okay. Now again, let me save. Let me again try, and let's see this error come up or output come up. Again, I run, guys. Again, the guys, they put the value. Again, just guys, I'm trying to explain multiple things here. So the simple thing to understand here is, if you put anything in the double quotes, they will treat as a string. So if you want to print as it is, any something as a string, you can put in the double quote. But here, this is the internal keyword of the Terraform, and here we actually giving the reference that X is a reference. Go to this reference and print the value. To tell this is the reference, then we have to use this particular syntax. So anybody, this is a very common syntax, guys, in multiple language. If you guys know shell scripting, if you know, maybe somewhere in Python also we use. So technically this is syntax. By this, we are telling to my value that dollar means whatever you have inside is a variable. This curly braces means my variable start from here until here, and whatever you have in between, it is my my variable. And then when you see dot, what you see in the left is where, it means whatever value you have after this is a variable, and we are giving the reference. So go there and find the value and print it. So this is syntax, but don't worry, guys. We'll talk more about variable. You become more comfortable in the syntax of this point. Okay, but now when I print this, now they are very clear. They say I can give the reference and I know the value X and the print form. Okay. And even though, guys, we can write something here, for example, hi, bye, something like this. So when I do this, okay, and now if I run again and say yes, they print hi. So technically, if you want to print anything, you can put in the double quote. Let me write A here. But in this entire string, whenever this dollar come up, okay, and whatever you put in the curly braces, so whatever you guys as a dollar come up and with the curly braces, they treat this guy as a variable, and wherever they find this variable value, they print for you. And technically, in normal programming language, this concept is, guys, called, in one string you can put multiple variables, and guys, this concept is called string interpolation. So this is the way, guys, you can interpolate the string in the Terraform. So technically, multiple small concepts, but we keep very frequently, guys, we use this concept. You become very much comfortable. But only one small thing to, again, I want to pinpoint. If you want to print any variable, you have to tell where the variable is, because this variable we have created. This is the main point to understand, because we have created, so we have to use where as a keyword. Okay, but there's a lot of variable, guys, in the Terraform that we don't have to create. They will automatically create it for us. Okay, so how we can retrieve this and what are those concepts we will discuss in a minute. So final conclusion is, whatever variable you create are known as user defined variable. Okay, and because this variable we created, so by the where keyword we can tell that this variable has some data, and this data we have created, so we are picking our own, we are giving the reference on our own user defined variable. So why I'm emphasizing this point here a lot, because my today whole class will depend upon the concept of data data maybe manipulation or data reference, right? What I mean by this, when I start my first practical today, you come to know what exactly I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go to our main topic. This is the very, very basic concept I want to explain you. We'll come back to this topic again, so you understand why I explained this topic to you. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let me create one more folder here. Let me give the name called folder EC2. Okay, and this is just a folder name, and here I'm going to create one new file. Let's say EC2 storage. just a name of the file, nothing special here, and a TF file. So what's my plan? Okay, so guys, let me first create the plan, and then we'll start implementing the things with the Terraform. Okay, so plan is something like this. So if you talk about the AWS cloud, okay, so in the AWS cloud, if you want to launch the OS, then we have a name of the service called EC2, and sub part of the service called instances. So EC2 instance is actually one of the sub service. Typically in the Terraform world, it is known as a resource. So this is a resource we have in the AWS. By this, we can launch the operating system on the cloud. This part, yesterday, guys, we have discussed this point to you. Okay. Now, now, second thing here is, if you want to, guys, create an extra hard disk, it is like a pen drive. For example, this is my laptop. If you want to attach extra hard disk, so I can go to market and borrow one external hard disk. Similarly, guys, if you want to attach and get an external hard disk from the AWS cloud, so they have a service from there where you guys can get extra storage or external hard disk, also known as block storage. So in the AWS cloud, we have a service called EBS. So EBS is one of the service name. Okay, and with the help of EBS, we can get extra hard disk. And hard disk, guys, here is also known as a volume. So EBS is a one big service, and they have the sub service called volume. Okay, and by this volume, guys, we can go and get the storage, or we can get the hard disk. Hard disk. Okay, and again, anybody who know about AWS, EBS also again sub service of EC2. So EC2 is the main service. They have a sub service called EBS, and EBS sub service called volume. And by this sub service, we can get the storage and the hard disk from this guy. So it means according to Terraform perspective, this would be one of my resource. So if you want, Terraform will go and create this hard disk for you. So just go and look for this resource. And after you know the resource, you guys know the approach, what I explained to you yesterday. But by this resource or by this sub-service, we can get the hard disk. So now point, guys, here, what I'm looking for. So my first requirement is I want one operating system. My second requirement is I want one hard disk. And my third requirement is, guys, I want to attach this hard disk or connect this hard disk to this OS. This will be my third requirement. So again, in the AWS, guys, we have an option, guys, that if we have a volume or the hard disk, there's an option there is called volume attachment. So with the help of volume attachment, whatever hard disk you have created, you can attach to this OS. So this is, guys, exactly the concept we are going to implement with the Terraform today. That's what we are going to implement. But before, guys, I implement this concept, now very important point to be implemented here today is there's one challenge in the AWS. The challenge is, if you want to create an OS, your OS always create in one data center. In the AWS world, guys, this is called AG, Availability Zone. And right now, guys, we talk about AWS. We have a Mumbai as a region, and in this region they have a 3 data center, I believe. If you go down, they're written here. Right now they are operating 3 data center or 3 AZs. Okay, so when I launch my OS, Amazon normally by default automatically assign one data center for me. Let's say they assign 1A. So when you launch this OS, your OS will launch in, let's say, in 1A. Who assign? Normally, by default, Amazon is the one they assign this data center. Okay, they assign automatically. So to just keep this in mind, guys, this data center they assign automatically means if I run my same code again, next time my data center might be 1C. So we have no idea whatever they assign at the time of launching. Now, if you create a hard disk, and when you create a hard disk, and if this hard disk is created in 1B, so when you create any hard disk in AWS, by chance anybody who don't know about AWS, so in the EC2 dashboard, if you go down, there's called EBS as a service, and they have a service called volume. Even though if I start from 0, if you go to EC2, is your main service. Inside EC2, we have a service called EBS. That's what I have written here. Inside EC2, we have a service called EBS, and inside EBS, we have a program or service called volume. So by this service, right, we can create a new hard disk. It's called new volume. And when you create new volume, they ask you 2 main things. What is the size of the hard disk you want to create? Let's say 1000 GB. okay, and which AG you want to deploy this hardware. So there's a three option come up. Why three? Because we are in the Mumbai. So Mumbai has 3 data center, but if you go to Virginia, they might have 6 or 7 data centers. So region to region, their data center vary. But right now in Mumbai, they have 3 data centers. So here we can pick one big. And it's also compulsory thing. It is compulsory to tell which region you want to deploy this, which AG you want to deploy this hardware. Now the interesting thing here is to understand before I proceed. When you create hard disk, you have to tell by yourself that 1B data center I want to use. But when you launch your OS, as such, you don't have to tell, even though they have the option, but as such, you don't have to tell always. So you always go for option called automation. And by automation or by default, they might give you 1A. Okay, so now what is the challenge? The challenge here is what I wanted. Step 1 is done, no error come up. Step 2 is done, there is no error come up. But the challenge from the AWS, they say if you want to attach any hard disk to any OS, the constraint is and compulsory part is the both should be in the same AG. So if you OS in 1A or your hard disk in 1B, I won't allow step 3. Okay, if you want to attach this volume, it is not allowed. So from our perspective, guys, it's not a Terraform issue. The issue from the AWS. So because this issue from the AWS, so none of the scripting world is gonna help. So you have to follow the rule or the regulation or the concepts of the AWS cloud. It means for the third step that actually we wanted, I want this hard disk to be attached. Okay, for the step number 3, your hard disk and the OS would be in the same region. And for this, what can we do? Okay, and that is what the main topic for today. So what can we do? Okay, when you launch the OS, okay, they automatically decide, okay, which AG they use. Okay, and where they define, they store this information. Even though, guys, when you launch any OS, they define a lot of default thing. I showed you yesterday, right? They decide your public IP address, they decide your domain name, they decide your tons of more default setting they do for your OS or EC2 OS. But all the things, whatever they give you as a default, they store everything in a internal variable. You know, guys, this right now I have created our own variable. So this is called user defined variable. But service to service, resource to resources, guys, they have their own internal variables where they put those things. What I'm talking about. So to showing this, what I'm going to do right now, I'll go and move to the same code what we had created yesterday. So I'm moving to the same code. It's called first.tf file. So let me open this file. You know, this file we had created yesterday. Okay, because yesterday, right now, guys, this is not the good practice because right now you guys can see my login and password, and by using my login and password, anybody can use this and they can use my AWS resources and they can do anything there. So technically, first of all, guys, this is not a better practice in the Terraform world to keep your login and password like this. So anybody can see the password, they can click and they can use it. Or if you upload this code in GitHub, accidentally you might forget to remove this password, so anybody can use it and they can reuse your resources. And that is a reason. If you go to Terraform, if you go to Terraform, they are very much clearly mentioned there. If you go to registry and if you go for your browse provider, if you go to AWS, and in the authentication part, if you go to documentation, guys, this is the page we have already visited. And if you go to authentication part, so they say if you use static credentials, okay, this is called static credential. So they say it's not recommended. Big warning here. Don't use this method. It will work, but don't use this. The same thing happened to me. Now my password is being break, and you guys can use it. By chance, I was a little bit intelligent. I already removed some of my older last character, so by chance nobody can use. But this is a very common error issue happen. That is a reason That is the reason don't use this method, even though there's other method also available. So right now I'm going to use a different method altogether. Maybe you can create some local variable, or I normally prefer this method. This called profile. What I mean by this, so what can you do is, right now in my Windows, okay, I have installed one command called AWS, because right now I'm using AWS Cloud. So this command is not by default available in your Linux and Windows. So if you search for AWS command for Windows, something like the AWS CLI download for Windows, you can get the software somewhere, double click, download, install it. After install, this command will come up. Okay, and by this command, guys, there's an option called configure. There's an option called configure. Okay, and in the configure, guys, there's an option called to add profile. So anybody who know this command, if you hit enter, they ask you your access key and secret key that I created yesterday. Okay, but what I'm going to do here, okay, in this command, there's an option called list profile. Okay, and there, guys, you can create multiple names of profile. So this is just a name. There's an option, I think, called a create profile. Some command is there, so you can go and check in the document of AWS command. So what this will do, I think the create command. So they ask you profile name, and when you hit enter, they ask you access key, your secret key. Okay, so your access key, secret key, create a store in some file, and the name of the file is this one. So technically, guys, this is called profile. So what I'm talking about, guys, in my laptop, I already created this profile. Pretty simple, guys. I think create profile command, you can go and create. And what are the access key, secret key you have created yesterday, store in your profile with some name. So I have multiple profile with me. Every profile has different login and password. But right now, the login and password that I created yesterday, I store in this profile. And now, because I store in this profile, or you can think this is the box, or you can think this is the file I store here. So what can you do? Instead, you put your access key, password key directly here. You can use a keyword called profile, and you can give your profile name. So in my case, is my window. So now it's look very simple. If you open this code in the front of anybody, you share your code in GitHub. Everybody can get your code that you want to share in a GitHub, maybe, but nobody can get your login and password. Because right now, when you run your code in the Terraform see, hey, because you're using keyword profile, it means Terraform, no, you're not providing a login and password here. So they go and contact your local computer, look for this profile, and go inside this box and retrieve the access key secret key from there. Okay, so this command, guys, pure AWS command. You go to help, or there's option for create profile. Go and create. I don't want to invest my time here. Okay, so that's the one thing I want to do here. Sorry. So let me start from here. So nothing important here. You just go and try by yourself. It's not pretty big thing. Okay, so come to a main topic, the main topic for today. So what I'm talking about, when you are launching a resource, is called AWS instance. Okay, this resource, guys, something we have mentioned that I want to use this AMI, I want these tags, I want this instance type. Let's say T2 micro. Okay, this part we have decided, but what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of things about the EC2 instance services, like public IP, which every zone you want is not decided by us. So if you go again to document the way I explained to you yesterday, so if you go to document, again, if you search for EC2, then we have a subservice called instances. Sorry. And if you go to argument reference here, so they say this is compulsory, but if you don't tell your everybody zone name, I can put somewhere. And this is, guys, normal trend in the AWS. We never tell which everybody zone I want to keep my EC2 instance. Same thing, if you don't tell me a public IP, I can give some public IP to you. So lots of thing is there. They give you as a by default. Okay, a lot of thing is there. Okay, but understand one thing, guys, whatever they give you as a by default, for example, they give public IP as a by default, they keep all this information in one variable. And the name of the variable is OS1. And guys, that is the reason, guys, we use this particular variable name. So OS1 is a variable name where they keep all the information about sorry about about all the variable either you created and all the variable all the information that is given by AWS. So what I'm talking about, let me show you in a minute. So first, let me try to run this code. So run the Terraform, apply. So there's an issue here. What is the issue? 1 minute. So you know why the issue we have, because I have some TF state file. I think this might be issue. What a TF state file, guys? This is one interesting topic I will discuss in a minute. So what I'm doing here, let me copy this code. Okay, and let me create one new folder. Let me do from the scratch. 1 minute, guys. Just give me one, please. Terraform. Okay, and I go to this folder, and this is the file I created. Okay, and let me open this file. Let me open this file and let me copy this code here. So I think technically code is all right. I believe. Save and let me run this code. Okay, and just one thing, guys, by chance, if you see here, this is the new folder altogether. And in this folder, this is the new file we have created. But in this folder or in this workspace, I don't have a plugin for AWS. So technically, whenever you create a new folder, you have to always write init command. So they will download a plugin for you. And guys, so it means your downloading plugin is not for one time. Every new workspace you create or new folder you create, that particular folder should have your plugin. Okay, so there's one thing, one time you do always in the new folder. So plugin is downloaded here, and now I can tell my Terraform to show me the plan. And guys, this is the exact code we have created yesterday. I think what is the challenge here? This should work, right? Profile. Okay, you know what, there might be chances, guys, 1 minute please. There might be chances this particular profile I might have created, then I remove. So let me show you my other profiles. So let me go for default. This might be challenge why this error come up. Okay, yeah. So this is run, init run, and let me apply. Yeah, guys, it now is working. So because the profile I created, I think for just for testing, then I think I've removed. Not this profile removed, I removed that account in my AWS. So that is the reason this was error. So I'm using my default profile. And if I say yes, so before, guys, if I say yes, you know what they're talking about? This console I already explained to you, but they're talking about you're going to launch a AWS, and technically only two value you provided in this particular variable. Okay, but there's lots of things like public IP, AGs. I will tell you after I launch what IP I provide and what AG I have provided to you. But where I keep this information, I keep this information in a variable called OS1. Okay, so this variable know about further things. I will update this variable to tell you what would be the next thing. What would the default setting I have provided to you. Okay. Now, why is important for you? In a minute, guys, I'll come to know. I'll explain you why this variable is so important for you, because the use case that I have right now. Okay, how I get the AG name after I launch my OS. Because same AG name I have to use in my hard disk. Okay, because I don't know which AG they launch, which data center they launch. But because I have a variable that track the detail about this OS in the AWS cloud, so I will retrieve some information and provide to my hard disk. So what I'm talking about in a minute, I will explain you. But let me first show you what they do. So technically they launch, everything working good. But guys, in this particular variable, this variable name we have created in this particular resource type, they know everything about this OS. They know their AG name, their public IP, volume size, tags, everything they know, and everything is stored in this variable. Because everything is stored in this variable, now what can we do? We can again open this file, let's say, in the last, because we know this is the variable name. This is the variable name, and this variable name is a part of this resource. So technically, this entire is your variable name. And if you want to guys print any variable name, we have an output function. And for output function, guys, you have to give some name here because this syntax, and maybe sometime we might use somewhere. Okay, and we can use values as a keyword. Okay, so now guys, if you see one small difference here, whenever you create your own variable, okay, we can create variable keyword to tell this is my user defined variable. And when you want to use this user defined variable, you can use var as a keyword to tell this is one we created and the variable name is X. But here, okay, in this OS, there are lots of variable, instance type, AMI, public IP. So those variable is not created by us, it is created by AWS. And because it is created by AWS, so they know their value. Some value we fill, but lots of value they fill for us as a default value. And you want to print all the value, so I can tell my variable name and they can print all the value for you. Okay, guys, can you hold for a second, please? So, so let me run this. Now, understand one thing, guys. I'm using output keyword, but this variable is not created by us. Or I can say this variable value is not feeded by us. But let me show you what's gonna happen when I print this. Again, I run apply command to run this code. Run this code. What this code require? What this code required to launch the OS? That OS is already there. Already there. And you guys here, what they come up, they print the entire information about this OS. So cool, so interesting if you try to see, because they say O1 is a variable name. 1 minute. O1 is a variable name, you can see here. And inside this variable name, okay, it's very clear that they say I have a key called AMI, and this is the value. By chance, this value we have given, so it is exactly the same. But they say I have one more variable called availability zone. Okay, and they fill with this value. This value, guys, is not given by us because it's not given by us. So who provide this value? AWS guys provide. So it means they are very clear. This OS, okay, I have launched in 1A data center. This OS, we have provided some public IP. And what is a public IP? I don't know. Let me go down, go down over here. And here they tell you the public IP that I provided to the OS is this one. So from my command prompt, I can see the entire detail of this OS without going to AWS cloud. But just because the first time we are doing, so it's always good practice to verify and compare this, what they're talking about, they are right or not. So let me go to issue to services. And what you see, guys, one OS launch, that's what we have done. And right now they say this OS, right, is launched in 1A. This is exactly what this information is talking about. They launch in 1.8 data center. Plus, if you click on this OS name, so they tell you this OS AWS provides some random public IP. Is this one 212 in the last? So here, guys, they provide this particular IP address. Okay, and why we need this information, guys? There are lots of reasons we need this information, right? One of the reasons for today is if you don't know the public IP, how can you connect? So anytime, guys, because you launch AWS instance, maybe in GCP cloud also or Azure cloud, they give you a public IP random. Or maybe after I restart the system, the IP might change. Okay, so I can create a code. So if you only interested to retrieve the public IP, because I know this is the value may be different next time, but I know my key name is called public IP. So what can I do? I can get this key or variable name. I can go to my output function and I say, now I am interested only to print the value of this guy. Just show me the public IP. That's all. Public IP. So now what happened when I run this code? When I run this code again, this time they will only print the public IP for you. So whatever OS you launch, so guys, this apply command will do a lot of things for you. If the OS is not there, okay, they will launch for you. This negative means they say what you're looking for is already there. So those things I'm not setting up. Minus means everything we have already set up for you. Okay, but here I will do something else. What you ask me, and you ask me to print the public IP, so I printed the public IP for you. And because you printed public IP for me, so I can use this IP to do some more thing. For example, anybody who by chance know Ansible or any configuration management tool. So if you want to configure the server, okay, if you don't know public IP, how can you configure? So this public IP I can retrieve here. I can put this public IP in my shell scripting, my PowerShell, my Ansible code as a inventory, and I use this public IP to configure this. So Terraform helped me to launch this OS, and Terraform helped me to tell me the information about this OS, because information is dynamic or random. So they give me, retrieve this information, and you can use it further the way you want to use. Or if you want, and guys, one more small thing, they print with this name. It's just a name, but it's better practice. You can say my public IP is something like this. You can create. So they will print something like this. Look more clear. What is this information? Or you can create one more output, value here, and I can say my AZ is this one. So how can you retrieve the AZ? So again, when you go up, here, they tell you your availability zone is this one, and they store in a variable or key called this one. So you don't have to remember and memorize your key name because this is provided by Terraform internally, this key name. So simple thing is just print your main variable once. They give entire information over here, and from there whatever information you want to pick, just retrieve the key name so that you don't have to memorize and just replace over here. So syntax is so simple. So when you launch any resource, so your resource name dot, your resource type dot, your resource name dot, and inside this resource all the keys that you have, what information you want to retrieve, just give your key name. So this is a syntax you have to use. That's otherwise you don't have to technically memorize neither this name, neither this name, neither this name. You have this approach the way I showed to you. Okay. Or what can you do? If you go to your Terraform document, and now guys, again, if you go to this document and if you want to do something on EC2, if you click on the EC2, they will tell you two things. One is resources and one is data source. Okay, so they tell you two things about EC2 as a service. So they tell you in EC2 which resource you want to use. You want to use instances, you want to use EBAs, or what else you want to do. Or you only want to know the data sources. Technically, they're talking about you only want to know what key they have, what key values they have, not values, what keyword they support. but that is called data source. So we click here and you say here, can you tell me all the data sources or all the key name given by this particular resource type? So if we click here, okay, and here guys, they give you in the bottom, okay, these are the key name given by this data source. So instead ID, in my case guys, right now I use what? I use AG name, or you can use public IP. So all this keyword, what they support, they provided here. So what I want to print, what I want to use, you can use here. So they say here, this keyword or this variable name will print the public IP assigned to this instance if you have assigned public IP yes or no. So you don't have to memorize those things. Either come to this document, or the better approach I show to you, what are the variable name you have here, print it first once, they give you entire detail. Want to keep pick from there, you can pick it and accordingly use it. So now if I run my code again, okay, so because my instance is already run, so they don't have to do any changes. Because they don't have to do any changes, so they say we are not doing any changes here. Okay, but if I say yes, so they print two things. They say based on the current information, this is your current availability zone name, and this is the current IP address. But according to my current use case, okay, I'm interested more in to know my availability zone name. Why? Because my first step is done. My second step is to launch the hard disk or the storage or the volume. And we know if you want to launch the volume, okay, we can launch the volume in any of the AZ, but our use case is to attach. So I have to launch this hard disk only in one A. So how we can do this? Okay, so for this you should know what you want to do. I know I want to use EC2, then EBS in the volume. So if you go to your document, okay, and because you want to use a resource, so just first go to EC2, because you know EBS is a part of EC2. Click on EC2, then go to resource and search, do you have any resource for EBS volume? You can find here AWS EBS volume is one of the resource we have. Okay, I click here, and guys, here they give you example. Now mostly guys, this example is enough. I can copy this example from here. It's a great example. Otherwise, there's a lot of arguments. You can go and find out what exactly you're looking for. So let me copy this example over here. Okay, and this example say I want to use this particular resource. They will create a hard disk for me. You can give a resource name. Let's say this is the storage one. They're going to create. Okay, and my hard disk size, let's say I want to create 10 GB hard disk, and this hard disk I want to give a name. This is, let's say this is a Linux world hard disk new. Okay, the name. But now interesting thing is, based upon this example, this hard disk is going to launch in US where maybe something in US they're going to launch. Okay, so hard disk will launch, but it won't suffice what I am looking for. I want to launch in a hard disk in a region or in a data center where this OS is running. Where the OS is running. And where OS is running, we don't know. Next time when I run this code, maybe I provide this code to my other team, and that their team, when they run the code, for them, this OS might launch in different data center. Okay, so I can't manually go and search where you launch. Then after I come to know you launch in 1B, then I manually come and change 1B. So rather than I just keep on doing change manually again and again, guys, if you change any code manually, it means the code is not properly following the concept of automation. Automation means in one go, everything should be run automatically. So what can I do? Instead, I hard coded my AG name here. AG name here. I know my every zone by this particular variable. I copy this variable and paste this variable. That's all. That's all. So technically, if you see, is very interesting. Technically, I'm telling that I'm going to launch a hard disk. For the hard disk, I need 10 GB hard disk, but this hard disk is going to launch in this AG or this data center. But how you get the data center name? So what I'm talking about, you are the one resource, but I have one more resource with this name. See here, this name. with this name. Just go and find out where they launch this OS in which AG retrieve. How you go and find by this one, and whatever value come up, just apply here. So technically, automatic guys, this hard disk will create of 10 GB only, but they all will only create only in the data center where this OS has launched. That's what I want. Okay, so this is a way you can give the reference of one resource to the other. So very important, guys, because in the cloud, any of the cloud you go, guys, if you create one resource, one service, second service, mostly one service is different, other service different, other services. So you have to give the reference, and for this you should know you should know the this service or this resource is depend on this, and which is the keyword name or data source name you have to give. And how to get the data source name, I've already given the answer to you. Now, if I run this code here again, what you will see when I say yes, like here they are very clear. They say now you're planning to add one more resource, even though I have two resources, one is already there. So they say you're planning to launch one more resource. If I say yes, I will launch this resource for you. They're launching. And by the meantime, if you go to my AWS cloud, here in the volume part, you see in a minute, there's one more new resource they are going to provision. Guys, here, this is the one just now, if you see today's date and time, they are provisioning for us of 10 GB. But most interesting thing is, guys, when I launch this OS, I have given the name, I have given the size, exactly they run launch for us. But I never give my AG name. They auto pick for the resource or my other resources, and they use that one. And you see, guys, here they launch in 1 Okay, so that's an interesting thing they have done. And why I do so, I already explained to you. Okay, so guys, this one is launched. But again, one more thing, whenever you launch any hard disk, again, will give you a lot of interesting. They give you automatically some IOPS, volume type, crescent date, okay, or maybe some more thing, maybe state is available or not. Okay, so there are a lot of default setting they do for you, and one very important setting they always do for you is the volume ID. So any resource that you launch in AWS, maybe EC2, maybe hard disk, every resource they give some unique ID. And what ID they give is always different. It's never same. Next time the ID may be different. But if you want to see the entire detail of this hard disk, so again, you can use the same concept. You can use output function. Let's say it's output 2. Okay, here I'm printing some value, and value I want to print is I have this resource. And this resource has a one resource name called st1. So whatever resource I launched already, just go to AWS and try to retrieve entire information about this resource and print. And why I'm doing this in a minute, I will explain you, but let me try to show you what they give you. So right now I have two resources to be created, but they are already created. So you see, guys, here the plan would be nothing to do. But here, if I run yes, so they print the entire information out. And they're very clear. This hard disk they launch in 1A. This hard disk size is 10G. This hard disk has some name. And lots more information they give you about hard disk. But one of the important information that I need right now, what is the ID of this hard disk? Because here 8D is exactly same name 8D. And why you want, guys, this information? because if you want to do the third step, so in the AWS perspective, if you want to connect any hard disk to any OS, so internally they never connect the hard disk with the OS name. Okay, internally they connect this hard disk with this OS with the ID. So hard disk also have a unique ID. OS also have a unique ID. So if you want to connect a hard disk to the OS, internally they say, tell me your ID, tell me the OS ID. I can connect your to the OS with their ID. But technically, if you go for automation world, we never know the ID. The ID is given by the AWS. Okay, and that is the reason, guys, this variable gonna help us. Even though if you want to see from a graphical way also, if you want to connect any OS, hard disk to the OS, for example, if you go to Xn, there's option called attach. Now here, what they're asking about that I am a hard disk, my ID is this one. Okay, and if you want to connect any OS, tell me the OS ID. Okay, so you have to tell the OS ID, which OS you want to connect. And this OS should be in the same region. That's what I explained to you. I'm a hard disk in 1A, your OS should be in 1A, otherwise I won't connect. So 2 or 3 consideration from the AWS perspective, both are in the same region. In my case, they are. And you should know the ID of both the guys if you want to attach. Okay, so right now graphical way is so simple. I can collect and connect and find and connect, so it's so simple. But if you want to do from the command line, how we can do. Okay, so for this, because we are going to do a third step, and because we are going to do a third step, okay, this means one more resources we're going to use. Okay, so how to find the resource name? Again, we go to document and search, do you have any resource who helped me to attach my volume to AWS instances? So if you go down, you might get a resource name. So it might be, let's see, yeah, here it is. So again, name they give you very simple. So it's called volume attachment. If you click here, they normally give this 3 different example. Most of the time, guys, this example fit always. So I copy this example from here. Okay, let me paste over here. Or this I must say that I'm going to create one more resource, and this resource is my step number 3. This will attach the EC2 with the volume. This is the unique name I'm giving here. How to get the volume name? How to get the volume insta ID? So I will use this option here. I will go and say this is the this is the if you want to check also, you can print this also to check. Okay, so I know this is my resource name, this is the ID of resource. Okay, and inside this we have an ID as a key, so they will tell me the ID of this particular volume. I will retrieve on the fly. Same thing, I have one more resource of instance. This one, name of my resource is OS1. So let me use OS1 here. And ID is one key here. Even though, guys, you go and print also, you can find ID is there. So ID is the one who will tell your instance ID. So technical, what I'm doing here, okay, when I run this resource, this is step number 3. Even though, guys, you can write a comment here. Step number 3. This way to write a comment in Terraform. And what we are doing, okay, this will do only one thing. Okay, what they do, if you go to your hard disk, right now your hard disk is available. Means hard disk is not yet connected to any of the OS, or you go to your OS also. So this particular OS right now is, if you guys go to storage, this OS has only one hard disk connected. Okay, and no further extra hard disk connected. This is the hard disk that is connected when you launch the OS. But there's no extra hard disk connected in this OS. Okay, so but what I'm doing here, I'm asking that just go and find the ID of this hard disk, go and find the hard disk of this OS, and connect both the guys. The device name is not important here, I believe. You can remove it. Only 2 important parameters we require. So technically, dynamically, on the fly, when I apply this, by chance a device name is required. I don't know, even though we don't have to memorize, but we can go to argument reference and say, here they say it is compulsory. So technically you have to give the device name. So let me again give the name and save it. So anybody who know Linux, when you guys create any connect any hard disk, your OS will give a unique name to a hard disk. So this is the name we are giving. You can give any name, but right now I'm taking the default name here. Now, if I apply, what do you see, guys, here? Now 3 resources I have to implement. 2 resources I already done. So they say I'm going to do one more thing here. So I say yes. When they say yes, what you will see, without going to AWS cloud, my OS launch, my hard disk launch, we dynamically retrieve the ID of OS and the hard disk, and dynamically we attach both the guys. Both the guys. So they're attaching. Okay, and after that is what you will see, guys. After this process run, there's no error come up because we ask something to print, also print something to for us. There's a different point. But if you go to your system, last time we had only one hard disk, but if you refresh this page, or maybe I believe you have to refresh the entire page without coming to the graphical world, what you will see in this OS, in the storage part, you can see now there's two hard disks connected, right? Or you can go to storage part also. Okay, last time this hard disk was available, but now you will see this hard disk is now been in use by some OS. Okay, so guys, now you might understand, guys, is so much important, right? The value of these part. Okay, so whenever you launch any OS or when you use any resources, we always give a resource a unique name, because this unique name is like a key, like a variable. Entire thing about this resource we launch, either the value you provided or either the value they give to you, everything is stored in this particular variable. And this variable normally we use in other resources to give a reference. And this is the one good example I explained to you. Also, guys, this is also a reference. Maybe we might require to do this. So, for example, just for testing, I'm using again output, just some unique name. Okay, and I want to print this one just to test what they have. And this is actually part of this resource. So I have to just tell this is the resource name, this is the resource type, this is the resource name. Tell me the drill what this guy carry. Okay, so if I print, so I had three resources, everything is done, nothing to do. Okay, but here what I'm doing here, I'm just printing the output, and this output say nothing special here, but this output say that some hard disk is connected. This is the hard disk, sorry, this is the hard disk name, this is the instance name, they are connected. And they connected with this hard disk name. So technically look like the third step that I done is successful. Why successful? Because they say I am the volume, I connect to this this OS, this means it means everything's good. Or maybe someone will tell some more information about what you do, so you can add some further condition. If it's not done, then do this. So we can do some condition also in the future, we will discuss. Okay, but right now my final conclusion, guys, over here in today's class is whenever you launch any resource, this is compulsory, this is like a variable, they hold everything about this resource, either you provided or either they have done as a default. Okay, so in the future, if you want to know something about this OS, the IP address, you can print, easy name, you can print, or if you want to use in some other resource as a reference, you can use them. That's the main thing. So if you know this concept, guys, tons of things you can do in the cloud world, not in AWS, Azure, other cloud also, because normally multiple resources depend on other resources. So it's very important topic. I'll share this code, it's a workable code. Only thing, guys, in this code, you have to change this part. So you can put your access key secret key directly here, the way I show you, or if you don't want, you can tell your profile name. And an interesting thing is, guys, default is a by default profile. If you don't know how to get the profile, you can go for by default profile. But before this, just run the AWS configure command. First time they ask you a login and password. Login and password. Just give your login and password here. Automatically your default profile created. You this login password stored in this default profile, and you can directly use it. And then just use this code exactly same, or you want to change your image ID, that you can change also. One more last thing I want to tell you over here about AWS. Right now I've done multiple things. I launch OS. If you see here, I launch OS first step. I launch hard disk, second step. Or I test this volume, third step. So I can say this is the one small infrastructure I created as code. But guys, why you launch this infrastructure? Because I want to test something here. But after testing done, mostly guys, we don't want this infrastructure there. So we can again destroy this infrastructure. And guys, if you try to destroy this infrastructure, right, manually, let me try to show you. So let's say I want to destroy this hard disk. So I come here, I click on the action, and if you try to delete this, guys, there's no option come up. See here, there's no delete option come up. Okay, why this option not come up? So if I don't know anything about AWS here, and if I try to delete, I can't delete. Because if you want to delete this hard disk, because this hard disk is connected to OS, so technically you have to follow the steps. The first step is you have to first detach this hard disk from the OS. This first step. After detach, then delete. So technically, guys, deleting or destroying is also a conceptual concept in the cloud. Okay, so because this hard disk is already connected to the OS, you can't directly delete it. You have to first go in a backward action. You have to first detach, then you can delete, and then you can do further thing. Okay, so if you have a good knowledge in cloud, you know those steps, you can do in the sequence. But good thing about the Terraform is they know internal sequence. Okay, so if you ask Terraform, the Terraform that you are the one who created resources for me, so can you help me to destroy the entire infrastructure? Just by one single command, okay, they will delete the entire infrastructure created by this particular project. And the interesting thing is they know the sequence. They know because they know we have OS, they know we have hard disk, they know we have hard disk already attached to the OS. So they know first we have to detach, then we have to remove the hard disk, then we have to remove the OS. So they know the entire sequence, and in the sequence they do for you. So you don't have to worry about maybe in the code, maybe in the sometime in the code, your sequence might be different. But entire Terraform know the entire sequence, what sequence to follow to delete or destroy the entire infrastructure. Just one single command, right? The entire infrastructure guys they delete. And guys, here the plan is we're not going to add new, we're going to change new, we're going to delete 3 resources, and they know what steps to follow. And this negative means we are destroying this one. Okay, we are destroying this one, and we are destroying this one. So they say we are destroying 3 resources because you have 3 resources right now. If I say yes, we can delete. Even though there's an option here, if you don't want to destroy all 3, you want to destroy 1 or 2, there's an option we can pass to destroy everything. But guys, see here, now they are going in very sequential order. First, they are destroying attachment. Then they might delete volume. Then they delete OS. Okay, so this is also guys good thing about Terraform. So without having some more further knowledge of this particular cloud, maybe in other cloud the sequence might be different. So you don't have to worry about. So they will do this thing for you. So they first delete the attachment, then they're removing the volume, then they're removing the OS. So if you go to this portal again and try to refresh, so this hard disk you will see is not available. So this hard disk deleted. And if you go to instances, you can see the OS that is there is shutting down. After shutdown, they will terminate this OS for you. So technically, guys, now if you compile this entire knowledge of today's and yesterday, one click apply command, entire infrastructure launch. You can provide this infrastructure to your testing team or the developer team. They will test their thing. And they tested all the things. You don't require this particular infrastructure. Just one command, Terraform destroy, one click, the entire environment will be deleted. Again, they come, one click, the launch, they use, again destroy, they'll destroy. So it's so quick, so intelligent, so powerful, nothing too much worry about. Okay. So that's all, guys. For today, by chance, we start class a little bit late today, 15-minute late, because I was in some very urgent meeting related to this pandemic. Because we are running some ISE.campaign. So for this, I was in some meeting, but actual class time is 9:30 always. So tomorrow, guys, we'll see you at 9:30 on. But any question, guys, you have till now, you guys can ask.